My name is Michael Pronko, and I'm a professor in the English department at Meiji Gakuin University. And I would like to introduce to you today my textbook, Inbound, Outbound Japan. Actually, I don't look like the illustration here, although maybe a little bit, but I think it gives you a little bit of a flavor of what's inside the textbook. I look a little bit more like this. But what I want to do today is to kind of take you into the textbook and show you what's there and why it might be interesting and why it might fit your classes. Even though I'm a professor, I'm also a writer, and with several decades of experience doing both, I wanted to kind of combine those. And I've written in Japan for many publications, the Japan Times, Jazz in Japan, Artscape Japan. But I especially liked writing about Tokyo for Newsweek Japan. Those were collected into books based on my essays uh, in Japanese and in English as well. Inside the textbook, you can see the table of contents is divided into two sections, inbound Japan and outbound Japan. Inbound Japan really focuses on essays based on my observations. They're written in the first person using I, which isn't very common in academia, but I think is very accessible to students. It involves lots of observation about culture and interaction and language and topics that maybe aren't brought up as often in discussion classes as they could be. The second part focuses really on students' approach to English and how English is used in Japan. So these two parts, inbound and outbound Japan, try to get one point of view and then help students to develop their own point of view. So the texts themselves are several hundred word essays, and they're followed by exercises that you can see here. All of these exercises, I think, are really leading students to develop ideas for discussion and expressing their opinion, either in spoken ways or in written ways as well. The textbook has audio, which is done really well. I was in the studio when the narrators were reading the essays, and they just did a fantastic job to really make the English very personable, very human, very warm, which is how the essays are, I think, as well. The teacher's book has lots of suggestions for developing these four exercises, in particular, the fourth one, discussing ideas and opinions. So, in the teacher's book, I give lots of recommendations for different approaches to taking the material and really working with it in various different ways. The aim of the textbook, I think, is many, and the inbound part is really getting students to focus and observe and see everyday culture, to put words to what they already know in some sense. It's very student based, based on opinions. The outbound section is aiming at getting students to do lots of activities that develop a broader point of view, to get them to see their English in a larger context. If any of that sounds interesting to you, of course, go to Kinseido's website. They have review copies ready and waiting for you, and you can find out a little bit more information on their site. And I hope this might be something that fits with your teaching and fits with your classes.